Alright, let's get into today's topic. We're going to get into some lesser known guns. A couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, I consider this God's podcast, just like everything belongs to God. And I consider this a community resource, and I consider us a community. I don't consider this thing as belonging to me. And as a community and as friends like to hang out and talk about guns. Especially, I assume, this community likes to hang out and talk about guns. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to hang out and talk about some pretty cool guns. Unless you're a real gun nerd, maybe some lesser known guns that you haven't ever given some thought to. Now, I went through the list and got rid of any guns that I own at this time. I may own some of these in the future, or I may have owned them in the past, but as of right now, none of these are things that I own. I didn't want to talk about things that I own, but things in general that are cool. I may talk about some of the guns that I currently am blessed to have, but they're not the main focus or on the list of things we're going to talk about today. Number one on the list, we're going to talk about the Heritage Rough Rider 22 long rifle / 22 Magnum. And now I have owned one of these in the past. They are a fantastic gun for the money. I mean, for the utility, for what you get for the price, they are amazing. If you want a gun that's inexpensive, that'll handle even the nastiest 22 ammo because it's a revolver and you cycle it manually, it's not relied on the consistency of the ammo to cycle properly, especially in today's time where you take whatever 22 you can find. This is a gun that lets you practice, and if you use the talent you're blessed with and put the time and dedication into this, you can master handgun fundamentals with this Heritage Rough Rider that I'm not going to quote any current gun prices, but in a normal pre-COVID pandemic, civil unrest environment, you could get for under $150. And that's what I think this is great at. It's great for just... Don't forget that shooting is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. I mean, this is gunfighter life, but most of us probably enjoy shooting. So don't forget that it can be fun. And this gun is a lot of fun for a little bit of money. It's also a very good utilitarian tool because it doesn't cost a lot of money. You may not be that worried about treating it the way that you treat a gun like a tool. You may take it fishing with you to take care of snakes. You may have it on a trap line if you're checking your traps to dispatch critters. It's also not a bad choice for, small game hunting. If you want an extra challenge, I would never go out and try to get food with that over a rifle or a shotgun, but if that's what you have on you, it'll certainly do the job. And not all models, but a lot of the models come with an interchangeable 22 Magnum Cylinder, which is just cool as well. Especially in today's, world where maybe you can't find any 22 long rifle, but maybe they have 22 Magnum. Or maybe you want to step it up and just try to take groundhogs at a longer range or something like that with a 22 Magnum. So that Heritage Rough Rider, single action 22 revolver, fun to shoot, kind of makes you feel like a little kid cowboy. Just a great all-around gun for a little bit of money. Also, if you wanted to get younger shooters or new shooters into handgun shooting, it would be a great choice. And because it's single action, meaning you have to cock the hammer with every shot, you're less likely to blow through that ammo, which in today's world might be a good thing. Alright, next pick on the list is very different, although it is a handgun. It is kind of at the other end of the spectrum. It is the Glock 36. Now this is a slim, single-stacked Glock. And you might be thinking, well, that's not lesser known. Everybody knows about those. Well, all those are 9mm, and 9mm is a great caliber. I switched to it a long time ago, way before it was the new hot fad that everybody is switching back to. But this is in a 45, and this is a slim gun. It's a single stack, and it came out in the year 2000. It came out over 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago, a single stack slim Glock in 45 ACP that holds almost as much as a 1911, which is one of my go-to handguns, or one of its derivatives. And it's almost completely forgotten today. So if you see one at a pawn shop, at a gun store, at wherever, don't be afraid to pick it up. They're just a lot of power and a little bit of weight, and they're slim, and not kind of the opposite. Like I said, you're not going to want to go to the range and burn a whole bunch of rounds to it. It does have quite a bit of recoil. But talk about a good concealed carry gun that packs a punch that's in a great caliber, the 45 ACP. Now, it wouldn't be my only go-to concealed carry gun, but it also wouldn't be a bad one either. Alright, the next one for cool, lesser-known gun is going to be the Ruger 77-357. Now, this is a bolt-action 357 Magnum, which will also shoot 38 specials. And that's just a really cool concept. That's just a really cool thing to have. You can scale it back and just have a lot of fun shooting 38 special rounds. You know, they're easy to reload, they're cheap to reload when you can get the components. In my opinion, the easiest cartridge I've ever reloaded for, the 38 special, and in like manner, the 357. You can scale it back, like I said, and just have a fun day at the range shooting 38 specials. Like I said, shooting, remember, it can be fun. And you can also put in the hottest 357 loads you can find. You can go to something crazy like a Buffalo Bore or a hand load your own, or get the stoutest 357s you can find. And that is a great, short to medium range deer round. Out of a rifle, it's even more powerful than out of a handgun. That's a great round for inside 100 and 125 yards. Which a lot of hunters that live in an environment where it's thick, dense cover or trees or whatever, that's probably the longest shot they may ever get. And if that's what you're doing, it'll work just fine. And for kids, it will be a great first deer rifle. And it will be a lot more fun to shoot. You could have that young or new shooter go out with that thing with a couple of boxes of 38 special and just have them have fun and walk around and plink. We'll have them go for a walk in the woods with clay pigeons set up at different distances and have them shoot from some from standing, and some from kneeling, and some from prone, and some from grabbing a tree and making a hasty rest on it, simulating hunting conditions. And what are you out? And if you can get the ammo, 2 boxes of 38 special, which is 100 rounds. 243 in like manner is also a great deer rifle, but these are lesser known ones, and you're probably not going to shoot 100 rounds of 243 in a practice session. And then when he's ready, you make sure that the dope is set and your holdovers and everything are right, and then load it up with the 357 Magnums, and it's great for deer hunting. Make sure you have good ammo selection for that. It's different than for defense, but definitely 357 Magnum out of a rifle is very capable deer round at closer range. Also, it comes in stainless steel, which I really like, because I'm pretty hard on stuff. But I really like the stainless steel. But I'm like I said, professional hunter and guide. But a lot of the professional hunter and guides that I know, I'm the only one that likes stainless. The other guys all like blued. They think the stainless stands out. To me, it seems like black stands out more than anything else in the field. Especially stainless after it gets a little bit of patina on it and it's a little bit darker gray. I've never found it to be an issue, and I really like it. I like the stainless. I like the imperviousness of the elements of it. They still come with iron sights, which shouldn't be, but it's kind of a rarity today. Mostly with centerfire rifles today, you don't get iron sights unless you get like a special edition like an Alaskan or something like that. And I think that's a real shame. I think teaching a new shooter or even yourself mastering with iron sights is a great thing. And it's one of the few new centerfire guns you can get that's affordable, that's not a lot of money, that has good iron sights on it. Alright, moving on down the list here. I played one of these at SHOT Show, last time before. I guess I didn't have the last one. But it's a CZ 28 gauge side-by-side. Why? Because it's cool, because it's lesser known, because 28 gauge is awesome little field round. You don't always have to shoot a 12 gauge. I know 12 gauges are cool, that's my go-to as well. Mostly because I'm so invested in the platforms and the ammo and the training time I've spent with them. But especially right now, 28 gauge is some of the few ammo you can still buy and find. In fact, the last couple times I've been to Walmart, I think I've seen 28 gauge there. And they do make 28 gauge Bernecki slugs, which is fine for deer-sized game. But the thing was very light, very handy. CZ makes great guns. And it's a side-by-side. It just kind of takes you back 100 years when you're walking through the woods. And just a great, fun little gun. Great to go upland hunting birds, hunting rabbits, hunting squirrels, anything like that. It's just a great, light, handy little side-by-side. And it's brand new, so you don't have to worry about destroying an old antique. I'm very blessed to have my grandfather's A.H. Fox, which is very old, and it's a side-by-side, and I still take it out and hunt with it. But it's one of the few guns I don't want to take out and beat up and take out in inclement weather. This thing's brand new. You can do that with it. Give it some character. Run it through the briars. Take it out in the rain. Just something cool, something fun, something different, and something that's very utilitarian. It's a side-by-side shotgun. Just walking through a field of tall grass on a cold morning, kicking up quail with a 28 gauge side-by-side. Just what a cool, thing to do. The next one on the list is the Kel-Tec P-32. Talk about fun and cheap and different. It's a 32 ACP, which is kind of one of the lesser known rounds, and it's a very small gun. You can get the same gun, the Kel-Tec P-380, which I believe is the same size with a more powerful round, so why would you get a 32? Again, because it's different, because it's cool, and because it has less recoil and it's more fun to shoot. See, I don't own one anymore. One of the guns I traded I wish I'd kind of kept, because it wasn't worth a lot, and it wasn't worth a lot when I traded it in. But mine was very accurate. I mean, my standard for little compact concealed carry guns is I have to be able to make headshots with it at 25 yards consistently. And that little gun would do it, and it was fun. Again, if I had one concealed carry handgun, would it be my go-to, concealed carry handgun? No, it wouldn't be. I wouldn't say in any way that it's a better concealed carry gun than, the SIG 365 or the Glock single stack 9mm, whichever one of those models that you like. Or even a little 38 Special 357 snub nose. But it's super lightweight, it's super compact, it's super fun, and not a lot of money. And like I said, the one that I have was very accurate. The next one we're going to talk about is the Ruger. Mark, 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever generation they have out when you're listening to this. Now, I said I didn't own any of these. I own a Ruger Mark IV, and I've owned several other variants in the past. But I don't own this exact model that I'm talking about. And that's just the plain, basic, standard model. The one that kind of looks like a Luger, from World War II with the tapered barrel, thin barrel. Straight up, robust iron sights, simple, no frills. But just like we talked about with that Heritage Rough Rider, I mean, you can just practice the fundamentals and with the talents God given you, if you're blessed enough, master the fundamentals and become a great handgun shooter. And even when you have a more expensive, nice 9mm defensive gun or whatever your flavor of defensive gun is, because this is gunfighter life, whatever that is, you still want to go back and practice with the 22. I do a lot of my practicing, probably the majority of my practicing round for round wise, dry firing, and then after that 22, and then after that center fire. Why? Because the fundamentals are the same. And ammo is expensive, especially now. And some things you need center fire rounds to practice, like recoil control, shot timing. But a lot of things you don't. If I'm just practicing the draw at 5 yards, I can practice that with a 22. And this it looks cool, it's utilitarian. Of all the 22 handguns I've ever run that are semi-auto, the most reliable, the most accurate, the best ones that I've found are the Ruger series. If you shoot a lot and you clean your guns a lot, the Ruger Mark IV really is way easier to clean. Like I said, I don't have this one, but I have a model of Ruger Mark IV, not the standard one. But let me tell you, after owning a few of the other ones, they are so much easier to clean. But if you're only going to shoot it a couple times a year and clean it every couple of years, any of them will work. And the basic one is just cool. It's cool looking. It's super handy. It's not going to be super heavy like the big giant bull barrel ones. So, you carry it, when you're walking through the woods, when you got your deer rifle in case you need to do a finishing shot on a deer. Or, like we talked about, when you're walking around checking your trap line, you got a bunch of snares set and you got something caught by the foot and it's not strangled. It's, it's still alive and you got to take care of it. It's a great gun for that. And again, just great for going out and practicing and introducing new shooters. This is gunfighter life. If you had to have a small little handy gun that you could put in a pack, that you could pack a ton of ammo, it would, like I said, it doesn't have that big heavy barrel. You're saving quite a bit of weight. As far as 22 goes, they're pretty reliable, and you can, shove 1,000 rounds in a pack and still carry it and have a little 22. So, you got your little go bag, your little bug out bag, whatever it is. A great little addition for that. Little side note here, there's two different models. One is called the Ruger whatever Mark series, and it's called the 2245. That's going to have your same grip angle and your same basic feel as a 1911. So if you're 1911 or like the 1911 style derivative guns and shoot them a lot like I do, that would be the one to get. If you don't really care, any kind of changeover, the other one has kind of a more steep grip angle. I think honestly it looks cooler and the grip is more comfortable. I'm just so accustomed to training with the 1911 style and a 1911 grip angle that I stick with that one. Alright, next we're going to talk about something a lot of people don't think of a lot lately, and a lot of times you can pick them up for not a lot of money at all, and that's the old Sporterized Mausers. Two different ways you can get a Sporterized Mauser. A lot of times, after World War II, a lot of people took those old military surplus Mausers and chopped them up and made hunting rifles with them, because at the time they were super cheap. I would advise you not to do that today. Don't buy, a pristine... You can do whatever you want. I mean, it's your gun. But I would not take a pristine World War II, Mauser and chop it up to make a hunting rifle. One, there's such good hunting rifles now, if you want to do that, then, it doesn't really make sense. And number two, don't destroy a piece of history like that, in my opinion. Like I said, it's your gun, you can do what you want. But after the war, they were so cheap and so, freely available. A lot of people did that already. And if you already got one that's cut down and the collector value is kind of destroyed, you don't have to worry about it. And they're still just cool pieces of old world craftsmanship. You just look at it and you look at the steel and you look at the walnut and it's just cool. It's just cool to hunt with something like that. And some people did some pretty crappy jobs sporterizing the Mausers. And some people did some fantastic jobs sporterizing the Mausers. I mean, some of these things are just beautiful and gorgeous. And the other way to go is, these companies after the war, they wanted to sell to the commercial market too. So there are some legit Sporterized Mausers that came that way. Parker and Hale comes to mind. I believe the first couple of Kimbers come to mind. I believe they were built on Mauser actions. In fact, my go-to guiding and hunting rifles are the new version of the Kimber, which is kind of a scaled down, more modernized version, but still of a Mauser 98. And I really like that controlled feed, deliberate action. I think it's a great action for hunting, especially something that might want to eat you. Like I said, a lot of the time, those things like those old Parker and Hales or those older Sporterized Mausers, they're not costing a lot of money. And some of the calibers you can get them in are kind of oddball, like not oddball around the world, but in the U.S., like 7x57 Mauser. But man, that's a great hunting cartridge. The 6.5x55 Sweet, if you can find one of those Sporterized. Those are great. I mean, that round is pretty much, for hunting purposes, inside 300 yards. It's very similar ballistically, look it up, to the 6.5 Creedmoor. And that round came out in 1890-something. It's over 100 years old, over 120 years old. And it is a fantastic round. And those old... Mausers, those old Swedish Mausers are fantastic. If you can find one of those that somebody chopped up and made into a hunting rifle that's not worth a lot for collectors, but it's just fun to go out and shoot, and just a great piece of history, and like I said, old world craftsmanship to go out, just something cool and unique and different. So don't turn your nose up at them. Alright, I know this is Gunfighter Life, so we're going to talk about a gunfighting kind of gun that you might not think of, and that is the Ruger Mini 30. I know that AR-15s and AKs are the predominant, battle rifles of today, and there's a good reason for that. And much like we talked about with the concealed carry guns, if I was going to have one, go-to battle rifle, it would not be the Mini 30. But man, it wouldn't be a bad choice. The Mini 14 is also lesser known, but it's more well known than the Mini 30. But the Mini 30 comes in 7.62x39, which is the AK round, which is a great intermediate round. If I were looking for one rifle to do pretty much everything, for me, it's the Scar 17. I have a Scar 17. I love my Scar 17. But if I was going to pick a runner-up, a do-everything rifle, I'm talking protection, defense, a truck gun, a bug-out gun, a medium-sized to large game hunting rifle. I can't think of a better one than the Mini 30. And again, like the other Ruger we talked about rifle, it comes in stainless steel. I would get it in stainless steel, especially if I was going to use it for any of those applications. Again, when I talk about ammo, guys, I'm hearkening back to the world as it was an entire year ago as of this recording, before ammo got crazy. Hopefully when you're listening to this, if you listen to it sometime far in the future, ammo is back to normal. But 760 by 39 generally is a pretty easy round to find, and it's pretty affordable. And you can get the cheap stuff and shoot and plink with it and have fun with it, which is great. And you can also get some good loads by like Hornady and some of the European manufacturers that are designed for defense or designed for hunting. I would not advise you to, unless you had to, going hunting with the cheap Wolf Full Metal Jacket ammo. But man, you talk about just a good all-around cartridge. The 760 by 39 has it. And that Mini 30 is just a great little platform. When I was a police officer, we had Mini 14s and we had ARs, but I tell you what, I did not prefer the AR to the Mini 14. Now, I use an AR, and I still use an AR, and I picked it over the Mini 14 because I'm a veteran and I have trained most of my adult life with ARs, so, to me the training is more important than the platform. And yes, reloads are a little bit faster with an AR, there is something to that, but in real defensive gun encounters, reloads generally don't come into play. And you get a more punch on that round. But I know there's ARs that shoot 760 by 39, and there's some great manufacturers that have really overcome some challenges because that platform was never designed for that round. But since the Mini 30 is a scaled down M14, which was originally in 308, so scaling it down to a smaller 30 caliber, generally it seems like it doesn't have a lot of those issues. So you get a nice, handy rifle that doesn't weigh a lot, that has a lot of firepower, that you can put a folding stock on if you want to do that. So you get a shorter length. You're talking about, a bug-out rifle, an apocalypse rifle. It's stainless steel. It's not direct impingement. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it because you probably won't care. But easy to disassemble. It's a scaled-down version of a proven platform, the M14. It's in a great round, and I know, it's not an AK. If I was going to pick up a straight-up battle rifle, in fact, when I was in Iraq, well, never mind, I went out and deleted that. But let's just say the AK is a great rifle. It works. And I would not say that the Mini 30 is a better battle rifle than, the AK-47. But I will say, in my opinion, it is a better all-around rifle. It is much easier to mount optics on it. Points very well. It is not, super heavy outside of the realm of a normal hunting rifle. And check your local jurisdictions, the different places you can and can't hunt with, semi-automatics for deer or whatever. But if you can, talk about a great woods carbine. Put, a 5-10 round mag in that thing so it's not crazy awkward. It's just a great, intermediate cartridge. Great for deer-sized game. Great for anything that size. And unlike the AK, you don't get the problems you get with, I know there are manufacturers and I know there are ways to mount optics on AKs, I realize that. But it's a lot more difficult a proposition than a Ruger Mini 30 that comes with standard scope rings that you can go down to Walmart or get on Midway USA and order a nice, decent hunting scope and mount it on there, and it's solid. And, like I said, a better all-around rifle. And, again, it comes with iron sights, so you can have both. And you can have, rings, and you can take them off if they get damaged and still use the iron sights. It's just a great all-around rifle. It's kind of a do-it-all rifle. So if you're looking for a great do-it-all rifle, and you don't want to drop, $4 or $5 grand or whatever a Scar 17 costs now after you put an optic on it and whatever, you may look at a Mini 30. And if it were me, I'd get it in stainless steel and I'd get the one with the muzzle brake. Not because I think muzzle brakes are super awesome tactical and you need them for things to be a super cool operator, but because it's not uncommon to drop a gun. And if you drop a gun on the muzzle, you can really damage your accuracy. And if you have a muzzle device on there, you don't really have to worry about that. And, it's just, you don't have to worry about banging up your muzzle as much. That's the number one reason I like guns with threaded muzzles and muzzle devices on them. And again, since it does have the iron sights, it is a great gun. Like I said, I would train with a 22, like a Ruger 1022 with the same style sights that you can get on there. But if you wanted to take it out and train with it and master, rifle fundamentals, you can take off that scope and use just good iron sights, and it has that. And not to the degree of the AR, but you can kind of configure them the way you want. You can, put that classic wood stock on there and make it look more like a hunting rifle. You can get a super cool, folding stock because it's not like an AR. It doesn't have a buffer tube, so you can fold the stock and shoot it with the stock folded. Great truck gun. You could put a rail on top of it. You could put a red dot and a magnifier. You could put, just a more traditional hunting scope on it. Very versatile, very cool, very utilitarian rifle. And talking utilitarian, the last gun I'm going to talk about is the most utilitarian. And it is going to be the single shot shotgun of any flavor you want. 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 410. If you're looking for a used one or one like that's a few decades old, the H&Rs were real popular. Harrington and Richards. Now there's a brand at Walmart, I think it's called the Hatfield. Anyway, brand new, they're generally under $100. Again, I'm talking, pre-COVID times when you get them at like Big 5 or wherever you get cheap guns. Generally get them at Walmart or Big 5 or something for under $100. And you're talking about a gun that you can go grab a couple of Bernanke slugs or Foster slugs and buckshot and birdshot and, turkey shot and waterfowl shot and pretty much, hunt anything in North America or around the world at close distance for $100. And because it's a single shot, most of those, very easily, you can take them in half. Very easily, a lot of times with just, a screwdriver, or if you don't have that, a nickel, take off the fore end and fold it in half. Talk about a cool pack gun. Talk about a cool wilderness gun. And like I said, they're $100. You can throw it in a canoe and go, around. And if you see something you want to shoot that's legal, you can shoot it. Anything from a moose to a gray squirrel. Or anything from a moose to a chipmunk. Anything. Because shotguns are so versatile in their ability to scale up and down. You want to get one in 12 or 20 gauge, or a 410, and any gauge you want. And would a single shot shotgun be my great, perfect choice for home defense? No, but it's $100. If you got somebody, a man or especially a woman that just took out a restraining order on somebody, which is a thing that happens. I was a cop, I know it happens, and she doesn't have a gun at all. You can very quickly train somebody on how to use, a break open single shot shotgun. You can loan it to them. Make sure they understand the legalities of it. Make sure it's illegal to even, in some states you can't even loan people guns anymore. But you can give her, double aught, or my favorite, number 4 buck. And keep that thing by your bed, and you got one shot, but if you get, a well-aimed payload of double-aught buck or number 4 buck into somebody, I don't think anybody out there is going to argue with the devastation of that. Hopefully that's not needed. But like I said, you get a lot of firepower and a lot of utility for $100. And I know there's some states where legal stuff is different, but you can get it and throw it in the back of your trunk or whatever and throw some shells back there and kind of forget about it. And if you really forget about it and it gets rusty, you take some steel wool to it, it costs $100. You can reload shotgun shells. At times you get real bad with ammo, you can reload it with black powder and rocks. Like I said, you want to take somebody shooting or take a buddy hunting or let them loan them a gun, you loan them that one. It's $100. You want something lighter and handier for walking through the woods and, on a rainy day, get the 410 if you want to just small game hunt. And, a 410 slug is, if it's legal where you are, trust me, it can kill a deer. And 410 ammo is lighter and handier and, like I said, very utilitarian, and you can split it in half. If you're talking about a pack gun, get the 410 single shot, put it in your pack and forget about it. Throw it in the back of your car for your bug out bag. Throw in some different shot, and you can pretty much kill and eat anything that you have an opportunity to if you have a variety of ammo. And obviously the 20 gauge falls somewhere in the middle. So if you want a little bit lighter ammo and a little bit more knockdown power, get the 20 gauge. A great gun if you want to start out doing gun projects and you're at home gunsmithing. Like I said, if you mess it up, you're out $100. But if you want to try doing Cerakote or Duracoat, if you want to take the stock and drill holes in it and hollow it out, you want to practice putting in sling swivels, who cares if you mess it up? It's $100. So just for the money, just for pure enjoyment and fun and utility, a single shot break open shotgun. Anyway, guys, that is my picks for kind of lesser known guns, cool guns. Hopefully you enjoyed the gun talk, the gun chat. I would love to hear what some of your lesser known guns that are your favorites are. If you're like, oh man, you didn't mention the blah 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 whiz bang 5000 or whatever, comment below. Let me know what some of your favorite lesser known guns are. I'd really like to know. I texted some of my buddies before starting the podcast and asked them, what are some of theirs, and responses I got were the SKS, and I initially thought about putting the SKS on here, but I did not, because there was a time I definitely would have put on here where you could get them for, $100, you could get them for $79 and $150. Now, last I saw, there were several $100s, and if I'm going to spend several $100, I'm probably going to spend one or two more and get a Mini 30. But the SKS is definitely, for decades, has been like the go-to prepper apocalypse rifle for a lot of people on a budget. The things we talked about with the Mini 30 kind of apply with the SKS, and maybe you want some of that old world, nostalgia coolness.